Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well today. So we come to our word from the word. And today that word is rejoicing. Rejoicing. Now, if you've been following along in Nehemiah, you know all the things that God has done through them to be able to rebuild the wall in 52 days and to have all this done. And then here you see this great rejoicing going on today as we're going to be in Nehemiah chapter 12. We're just going to look at one verse today. We're going to look at verse 43. But as you'll see, the dedication of the wall. And I love the fact that just a lot of times that we have dedication ceremonies now, and some people may think, well, that's not that important. But it is in the fact that if we're doing something spiritual and we're doing something that God has led us to, that it's dedicating, not, just like a building or a structure, just saying, okay, well, we dedicate this to the people, we dedicate this to the area or whatever. No, when we're doing things that God has called us to do, we're dedicating these things to the Lord. It was the Lord who got the wall built. It was the Lord who kept their enemies at bay. It was the Lord who gave them the strength to do it, just as the Lord had given them direction to be able to come back and start it in the first place. So if God had done all the work anyway, you say, well, no, these people were actually physically building it. Yes, but the Lord was guiding them and giving them the strength to do it. He was providing the food for them. He was providing protection for them. So at the end of the day, it all belongs to Him anyway. And I love the fact that here they even separate into two singing choirs, and they're just going to start in one place. They're going, hey, you take your choir this way, I'm going with this choir this way, and we'll meet back around. And when we get back up, when we meet up, we'll just start singing and shouting and have a great time. And I love the fact that all these choirs of people are walking on the walls that the enemy had said that a fox, even just if a single fox was on there, remember that they said that the walls would crumble down. And here they are, two choirs of people walking around on top of the walls and going to dedicate these beautiful, I'm sure, beautiful and magnificent walls that they were. Now, with that, the rejoicing that comes. And I want you to look there in Nehemiah chapter 12, looking at verse 43, says, also that day they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced, for God had made them rejoice with great joy. The women and the children also rejoiced, so that the joy of Jerusalem was heard afar off. Now, you and I as believers, we often, and I say that knowing that most of you that watch are believers, but there may be some that are not. And I encourage you, I'll use that as an opportunity to say, look, if you're watching and you don't know personally, you don't know God the way that we do, and you don't understand what we talk about when we talk about salvation and what it means to give your life to Christ and how you can have an eternity in heaven, I encourage you to reach out to me, and I'd be glad to share that with you. But as we're looking here, it says, as believers, we should be rejoicing when God has given us something to shout about. But I think a lot of times that we rejoice with each other, and we may rejoice loudly in the church, right? We may rejoice loudly between each other on phone calls, or even in texting, right? That we rejoice and we celebrate the great news that we've heard that God is doing something, and maybe it worked a miracle in somebody's life. But I wonder how many times that rejoicing is heard afar off. Right? If all of Jerusalem was shouting so much that, all those who were around outside the city were hearing and saying, well, wait a minute, what in the world's going on? And so they would ask, and then they would be told what God had done. But I wonder for you and I wonder if too often we're not rejoicing in quiet or rejoicing in rejoicing in private, I guess is maybe a better way. That we're not publicly rejoicing, right? When God does a miracle in our lives, or we may be quick to share that with other believers, but do we share that with unbelievers? You may say, well, they're not going to care. Yeah, but how are they ever going to know what God is doing if we don't ever tell them? And see, this is one of the things that's so important about rejoicing publicly, right? Yes, there are private battles and private victories, but there's also public battles and public victories. And we have a public God and we have a private God, one and the same that deals with us in every situation in a different way. So when it comes time for publicly rejoicing, why not rejoice? Shout it from the rooftops. Let everybody know. Let it be to the point where they have to look to you and say, look, I wish you just need to calm down. But I wonder if sometimes we don't rejoice in public because we don't want people to look at us a different way. Almost that we're ashamed of what God has done. And if you say, no, I'm not ashamed of what God has done, I'll gladly tell anybody. Then keep that resolve. I'll use that word from yesterday. Keep that resolve and keep on rejoicing, all for the glory of God. See, we don't rejoice to bring joy to bring the eyes on us and the attention on us. They were not rejoicing to bring attention on them. They were rejoicing to bring attention to God and give all the glory to God. And if that's the reason and the way in which you're rejoicing, then sing on, shout on, and rejoice on. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.